What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Welcome to Wrestle-MaGiC Hot Topic. So for this Hot Topic show, we have three main topics to talking about. How many do we have?
Three.
Alright, so let's get into it with the first one, which I personally want to call the Curtain Jerker. The first topic to talk about, to get that discussion rolling. First off, how are you, Brad?
I'm good.
You doing good?
Yep.
On this lovely Monday.
It's not Monday, though. And when we're recording this.
When we're recording this, it's not Monday, but
I mean,
to them. How are you doing this Monday?
I mean, well...
Are you excited for Raw? Wasn't Payback amazing? Or wasn't it crappy? Fill in blank there.
Well, I mean, you know, we'll talk a little bit more about it in our recap show, but judging from last week's Raw, whoo boy.
Yeah.
Watch WWE pull a fast one on us, and it'll actually be a great show.
Normally, the ones with the worst builds have, like, some of the best shows, which is really strange to me. Alright, but so for the first topic we have, it is the topic of WWE 2K18. Now, 2K18, the 2K games always come out in October.
Right.
So, I had two questions concerning this. One of them you're probably going to need to think about it some more. Is, will this match be still called WWE 2K18, or will they revert to the SmackDown vs. Raw name? Because of the recent brand split.
I think they'll stick to 2K. I think they'll stick to 2K.
Well, they're still going to do 2K18.
I know, but they're not
going to WWE, or?
Yeah, they're just probably going to do WWE. Because I don't see them doing Raw SmackDown again. I mean, that's kind of what's going on, but because if they did, then you would also... Here's why. They're probably also going to include maybe an NXT roster as like DLC or something.
Well,
maybe.
They always do NXT rosters now.
Yeah, so they're going to have an NXT roster. They're probably going to have a 205 Live roster.
Yeah.
So if you did Raw and SmackDown, neither Raw nor SmackDown own NXT, and 205 Live is kind of this other thing. Yeah, sure, the Cruiserweights show up on Raw, but you still have 205 Live, which is its own show.
Fun fact, they did SmackDown vs. Raw for 2008 to 2010, and for 2008, it had ECW in it until WWE 12, but they featured the only one to say featuring ECW was 2008, and then everyone after that still was SmackDown vs. Raw.
Right.
So it hasn't not happened before. They might do featuring NXT, and 205 Live can technically say they are owned by Raw.
Yeah, that's true, but
technically,
I still don't see them doing that.
And the second question is, who is the cover star? Because, alright, so I'm gonna give you a recap of the cover stars since the WWE games have been titled WWE. WWE 12 was the one that started. And WWE 12 was, the cover star was Randy Orton.
Okay, so right there was my original answer before I changed mine in my head.
WWE
already happened.
WWE 13, CM Punk.
Well, of course. You couldn't stop him in 2013.
Yeah. WWE.
What are you going to do? Fire me?
WWE 14, The Rock. WWE 15, WWE 2K14. 2K15, John Cena. 2K16, Stone Cold. 2K17, Brock Lesnar. So now, there has not been a full-time wrestler on the WWE game
since CM Punk.
John Cena was technically that in 2015, but that's when he started his movie star phase.
Right.
And he spent a good portion of that out with an injury. So that is the question: who is going to be the cover star of WWE 2K18?
So you kind of had two parts to that question, which was, who do you want and who should it be?
Yes. Who do you want it to be and who should it be? Who do you want it to be? Who's it should it be?
Who's
and
it
who's it probably going to be?
Yeah. I have the same person for both answers, and it is Undertaker.
Oh yeah.
They would do a 2K6. They would do what they did with 2K16, where career mode was basically the history of Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, the showcase mode.
Yeah, I think they should have that again for Undertaker.
Yeah, they took out showcase mode for 2K17, but 2K18, yeah. That
2K18 needs to there needs to be showcase mode. It needs to be the Undertaker's best matches. He needs to be the cover star for it.
Yeah.
It basically has to be the Undertaker, the wrestling game.
All right, so this is a lot to ask 2K, but before I get into who I want for my cover star and who it's probably going to be,
right.
Before I get into that, I want to tell you something about some of the key features in old games that should make a comeback in this game. Showcase was removed last year. I think it was a bad idea. I love the showcase because since WWE 13,
right,
they've been coming out with a historical based story mode, which will take you through history. So like WWE 13 was Attitude Era mode.
Nice.
2K14 was 30 years of WrestleMania. And so they had at least one match per year WrestleMania year.
Nice.
That was played.
That was cool. That's cool.
And it featured all the WrestleMania sets. Every set was different. It was so great. 2K15 was rivalries. It focused on the rivalry of Shawn Michaels and Triple H and John Cena and CM Punk. And recreated those. And they also had DLC story modes of Mark Henry's Hall of Pain, The Ultimate Warrior, and Christian versus Randy Orton. 2K16 obviously had Stone Cold and his career, as well as the Hall of Fame one, which is downloadable for 2K16 and 2K17. They have just that showcase mode, which is a quick time event for just the Hall of Fame people. One or two matches per Hall of Famer.
Nice.
But that needs to make a comeback this year as part of the actual game package. As well, I would love to see a Road to WrestleMania mode. Now, the Road to WrestleMania mode was finished in WWE 12. Mm-hmm. And it featured an original story that was not told on WWE television. It's an original story. They took 5 or 6 different people. And they made custom stories for them, for their brand. Featuring backstage interviews, different things, quick time events and stuff like that. The last set of 6 people that there were in WWE in SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, where it was you had a that was 2010. You had a Christian, Road to WrestleMania, Chris Jericho, Rey Mysterio.
Well, Chris Jericho must have been fun.
Rey Mysterio, John Cena, I'm trying to think of who else. I think there was only 5, and the other one was versus Undertaker, where you had the choice of Dolph Ziggler, Kofi Kingston, a bunch of other people, or your created superstar, and they have to fight the Undertaker at Mania.
No.
So, yeah, it was almost. It was like if your game difficulty was on easy, it would bump it up 2 game levels.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're on Legend, it will bump it. It will go to the highest possible difficulty to fight the Undertaker at Mania.
Well, yeah,
it's absolutely dreadful.
It wants to. It wants to. It wants to make it. If you do manage to win, it makes you realize. It makes it feel like you were actually the one to beat the streak.
Right. That needs to make a comeback at some point.
Wouldn't showcase mode, if Undertaker was the cover star for 2K18, wouldn't showcase mode literally just be that several times over?
Well, that's the funny thing, because they had a Undertaker mode in 2K14 with the WrestleMania themed one, and it was either defeat the streak or defend the streak.
Nice.
So it was those were the 2 game modes.
Mm-hmm.
Defeat the streak was you pick any superstar that was on the roster, and it was an extended roster because you had the 30 Years of Mania.
Right.
So you had wrestlers like Goldberg who were in wrestling at the time.
Right.
You had like Ultimate Warrior, you had Andre the Giant, etc. You could pick any of those wrestlers to try to beat Undertaker's streak. You could pick Santino if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
And you had to try to defeat the Undertaker on highest difficulty.
Oh, you know what?
And the quicker you defeat him, the more points you get.
You know what's gonna be unfortunate though if they did do Undertaker as a cover star for 2K18, is that the last match would obviously be versus Roman Reigns, and they would do the same thing that they did for versus Undertaker storyline where it's
either that or you control Roman and you have to beat him.
That would be hard. That might actually be one of the hardest things to do in any.
That might
in
be
any
actually
video.
better than the actual match that happened.
Yeah, it would be better than the actual match that happened. But it would be one of those things where it's like, I have to complete the game. I just don't want it.
Yeah. And they also had defend a streak, which was literally the Undertaker stood in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And one person at a time would come out. Random people.
Nice.
It was akin to the slobber knocker mode in like the early SmackDown games. And as soon as you defeat them, another one comes in, and then another one, and then another one, and you don't get any breaks in between. Your health doesn't revamp or anything.
Oh.
And the more you try to get to the highest number of wins that you possibly can without losing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's your streak as The Undertaker. The best I've done when I played it, I believe I got to 12. Before I ended up fighting, I believe it was the Big Show, and the weight detection was on it. So weight detection on, it makes it harder to slam the bigger guys, especially if you're tired.
Oh.
So, there's that. GM mode, where you will literally get to buy wrestlers contracts, and they have like set amounts for like mid-carders and main eventers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You get to make your belts you get to pick you don't get to make your belts, but you get to pick your champions.
Right. And
you go head to head in a ratings war with the other show. And whoever has the most viewers at the end of the show, at the end of the year, gets like a General Manager of the Year award, where you get like some sort of unlockable. And you can make trades with other rosters. And you also feature in cross-promotional pay-per-views and stuff like that. It was a really great mode. One of my personal favorites. I have to give you my PSP and have you play a couple of times of that. That needs to make a comeback. And if not the Road to WrestleMania mode, I would love to see the season mode, which had an original story. It was the same every time you played it after the fact, but the first time you played it with a new character, it's really interesting.
You know what I think there should also be? Not as part of like the 2K series of games, but as like a separate other series of games that are not meant to come out yearly, or if they do, then but like each game is for a different era, but you can still create like a wrestler for that era. So like, and the story mode would be just a completely original story that takes place in that
era.
So like,
I like that.
So you would be able to create your character and have him fight Hulk Hogan in WrestleMania 3 or whatever. At WrestleMania 3 or whatever.
So you basically, your premise is you get to rewrite history with your character.
Pretty much. For every era. So like
maybe you're the one who body slams Andre.
Or that you could do that. That could maybe even be the storyline.
I really like that.
And like it wouldn't just be, it would be like, and then the next game would be, what came after the Golden Era? Or whatever era that was.
The New Generation, which Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels was next.
So then you have New Generation, and then you have Attitude.
And then you have, after the Attitude, you have Ruthless Aggression.
Right. And
then after that, you had the, what was called the, I believe they called it on the 2K games the Universe era.
Yeah, but we call it PG era.
Yeah, we call it PG era, but they're gonna call it Universe era.
Yeah, so the Universe
They
era.
did that.
And then whatever the heck we are in now.
One other game mode that needs to come back with a vengeance is the Create a Story.
Right. Oh, that sounds cool.
2K14, I can show you where you get to take any wrestlers. They have a section of scenes that can be put. You can put any wrestlers in them.
Mm-hmm.
And you can create your own text, your own camera angles, everything.
That sounds fun.
And you can also like in-place matches in between and have them end prematurely, and get like DQ sequences, like cutscenes and stuff. It's really interesting. That's like one of the favorite parts of the Create a Story mode that I loved.
Mm-hmm.
But those need to make a comeback. So now, after swaying onto that for a while, I want to tell you my picks for who.
Yeah, let's get back to the topic at hand.
Yeah,
here.
it's probably going to be either Undertaker or Reigns. It's a guarantee it's one of those two.
Yeah, it better be Taker.
But
save Reigns for next year. It has to be Taker.
But what would be very interesting, and what I think would be like the best for like the hardcore wrestling fans, would be, well, besides Undertaker,
Mm-hmm.
would be if they took a main guy from Raw, SmackDown, and NXT and had all three of them like pose as part of the
That could work.
cover. So this is who I would pick from the current Raw roster.
Well, I mean, if they did that, then of course, then the first guy, unfortunately, would have to be Reigns.
Well, it doesn't have to be.
But it probably
will be. Finn,
Yeah.
AJ.
Finn in full on makeup.
Yes. Finn, AJ for SmackDown. We need somebody for NXT's cover star.
Bobby Roode.
So Finn,
I know that there are really good people in NXT right now, but it's probably Roode.
If not them, then all three of the champions holding up their belts. Yeah. So that would be Lesnar.
Or wearing them.
Yeah. Lesnar, Orton, Roode, all three of them in the front.
Those are all older wrestlers.
Yes. So are every other video game title person since 2K14.
Yeah.
2K14, what was that? 3, 4
The Rock. The Rock, then Cena, then Steve Austin, then Brock Lesnar.
Bork Laser.
So those are my picks. That's probably what's going to end up happening. Now comes the second point of news. So, Vince McMahon.
In this hilarious image.
Yes, in this very hilarious image, is having a biopic created about him. We originally were going to talk about the potential for a WWE offseason and how that was going to work, which we'll still talk about that, but probably next week. But this is like one of the most interesting things that I've seen in a while.
And the most interesting thing that happened this week.
Yes, quite frankly. So Vince McMahon is getting a biopic made for him. I'm getting a link. I'm going to put a link in the description to the PW Torch, where they took a look at all of the drafts for the script. And the reason I'm bringing up the drafts, and you said this earlier, that drafts, that's not going to be the final product.
No, it's not.
And I get that. However, the thing is, something that Vince McMahon saw, because they were trying to wait for McMahon's approval. That's why nobody would touch it.
Right.
So something in this had to get Vince McMahon's approval.
This is why you wait until someone is dead to make biopics about them, so you don't end up offending them with the truth.
Well, this is what... So, the title of the biopic is supposed to be called Pandemonium.
I don't know why they didn't just call it McMahon Mania. Or McMania.
Wow. So the main villain of this movie is supposed to be Ted Turner when he was in the.
That makes sense.
Yep.
So this is going to be a Monday Night Wars kind of thing.
Yes.
So this is
This will be preceding the Monday Night Wars.
preceding. Oh, so it's gonna. Oh, I know what it's probably gonna be. It's going to be jumping into the Monday Night Wars and finishing off with the buying of WCW.
So this is some of the details from the drafted script, and one of the things that it says is that there may be a disclaimer at the front of it in the movie that says that this movie is as real as professional wrestling is.
So it's really just not. It's not even supposed to be a biopic anymore.
Yeah, it writes off inconsistencies. It's basically an alternate history.
Right.
Um.
In some alternate universe, this actually happened.
So one of the things that PW Torch says that most likely to get changed is that where the script says about Linda McMahon's background, and it says here, it presents her as this is PW Torch, by the way. It presents her as working as a strip club waitress when she becomes pregnant with Shane, and Vince demands she shouldn't work in that environment anymore. It leads to a fight between Vince and the club owner, which Vince wins in a back alley.
Poor Shane. Poor Shane.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
God.
Shane.
Hang on, these get better.
Part of me likes the idea that we'll just get something that's not even meant to be a serious biopic.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it would be kind of interesting to see what kind of crazy stuff they could come up with. But on the other hand, I really hope that these are literally just ideas that were pitched, but cooler heads have prevailed. So none of these are true anymore, and none of these are actually going to happen, and it's going to be like an actual true-to-life biopic. I know it's not going to be, but I really want one. I know that Vince wants to protect his image, but at the same time, he would make a lot of money if he just told the truth in this biopic. Because the truth is just as interesting as anything he can come up with.
See, the thing is that they're trying to do this. They're trying to portray this movie in a humorous tone. So basically,
well, yeah, Vince's life was crazy.
Basically, what that says
if you don't look at it in a humorous light, it's depressing.
I mean, look at this picture.
Yeah,
right here.
Vince has a funny side. Now, granted, it's a shame that until recently most of his humor revolved around little people.
But
Hornswoggle,
you're
going in the Hall of Fame and no one wants you there.
Yep, that'll be like one of the best. I'm waiting for this to load up, but what I was trying to say was that it's supposed to be told in a humorous tone. And when I was listening to the Going in Raw guys, we talked about this first, it was like that this maybe potentially seemed as a roast of Vince McMahon, which I would think would be freaking amazing.
I want to see WWE host a pay-per-view that's literally just wrestlers coming out and roasting Vince McMahon.
The roast of Vince McMahon. I would pay money to see
the
that.
WWE comedy roast of Vince McMahon. It needs to happen.
Yes, it does.
I want, there's the problem is they wouldn't do it because there's too much of a chance for something to accidentally turn into a shoot. Into like a vicious shoot.
Is it a roast? A shirt? A shirt.
No. I mean,
you tell I'm tired, guys.
By that I mean like not even a comedic shoot, just literally, I have the chance to say mean things about my boss. I'm going to expose him for who he truly is.
Don't get CM Punk on there. He will ruin your day. Did you hear CM Punk's going to be in this new MTV series?
No.
It's like challengers versus champions. And CM Punk is on there being billed as a UFC fighter. Even though he lost in like record timing. So I'm just waiting for this to load. What else can we say about this? So from what I've read other places, the What Culture thing is getting loaded up right now because this is where I read it from. But apparently Jimmy Snuka was an adult film star.
Which is not true.
Not true. He found Jake the Snake Roberts in a jail.
Not true.
Not true. Found Roddy Piper. No, he didn't find Roddy Piper. It was either Jake Roberts or Roddy Piper in jail. Hang on, I'm getting to it. Oh, dang it. You found Andre the Giant working at a French restaurant.
Not true. He was already wrestling far before Vince McMahon got into the business.
And the Junkyard Dog was a construction worker. So, yeah. Lots of lies.
Hopefully those were all edited out of the script.
I wouldn't be surprised if they were left in there.
It's true. I know.
Because Vince likes to think that he invented wrestling.
He didn't.
To a point, he invented the modern era of wrestling.
Right.
To a point. But otherwise, not so much. Alright, so I'm going to ask you 2 questions.
Alrighty.
Relating to this. One, who would you want to see, if you know by names or by examples, who would you want to see play Vince?
Alright. Who I think is going to play Vince, based on Vince McMahon himself, probably
Vince McMahon. He just always looks old.
no. For if Vince McMahon's overseeing this, he's not going to go for someone who looks like him. He's going to go for somebody that's going to make him look good.
Roman Reigns?
No. He's probably going to pick some currently somewhat graying
Shane? Oh no, why?
Someone who's kind of slightly graying, who's conventionally considered handsome. Honestly, for whatever reason, George Clooney is popping into my head as someone that Vince McMahon would cast to play himself.
I can see it.
And
the second question...
Or Daniel Day-Lewis. No, Daniel Day-Lewis is who I want to see play him. Because, do you know about the thing about Daniel Day-Lewis?
About the thing? What the thing?
He can never just act. He has to almost become the person he's playing. He lived in a log cabin for a solid, I think, 3 months to prepare for playing Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, that is great.
In, I believe the movie was There Will Be Blood, I think, in that movie. His character gets, tries to walk around on a broken leg. Now, he didn't actually break his leg, but what he did in order to get that kind of shuffling gait, he stuck broken glass in his shoe. The shoe of the leg that was broken.
Oh, God,
to get
I
that
feel like
shuffle.
It's gonna happen.
So, imagine that kind of,
Alright, so let's look through some of the...
Yeah, I think I want Daniel Day-Lewis to play Vince McMahon just because I have a feeling that no one on this planet could get as into the role as Daniel Day-Lewis could.
Mm-hmm. The second question I had is, what do you want to see in this movie? What do you want to see covered, or at least
Well,
explained?
let's see. Ted Turner's the main bad guy in the movie, so...
So,
Here's the thing. I would want to see just...
Roddy Piper was the one in jail that I was reading, not Jake Roberts.
Alright, who do I want... Or what do I want to see? I would prefer if it would just start with the Monday Night Wars beginning
And it seems like...
and ending with the Monday Night Wars ending, but I would also like to see a little bit after the wars ended, i.e. Invasion.
So, this is a couple... the third act, I think it ends right before the Monday Night Wars.
Well, that's not interesting at all. I want to see Monday Night
Well,
Wars.
this includes the steroid trial. With... when he was accused of giving his guys steroids.
Right.
And it's supposed to culminate.
You know what I would want to see? I don't want to see Monday Night Wars. I want to see it's a larger timeline, so they have to compress it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I would want to see Screwjob Onward.
Oh, that would be great, but
Screwjob to as much as that match sucked. Bret Hart versus Vince McMahon.
Yeah, like I said though, Vince likes to protect like you said, Vince McMahon likes to protect his image. So I don't foresee that happening.
But
It might though.
It would all be behind the scenes, of course. It would all be like, it would, again, Bret Hart versus Vince McMahon that one time was not a good match.
Mm-hmm.
But Vince said that the entire reason that match happened was it was the end of the Vince McMahon character.
Right.
That's where that entire huge decade and a half long
Yeah.
or almost a decade long storyline.
Well, it was in 1997
Yeah.
and went to 2010 when that match happened.
Yeah, so that's
over a decade.
That's over
13
a decade.
years.
It's a 13-year long storyline. I think that would be interesting to see all the behind the scenes stuff with that. So the movie would start with Bret Hart getting super angry at Vince for the screw job, and it would end with the two of them shaking hands backstage after the match.
Right.
Despite how bad the match was, that's what the payoff is. It's like everything's settled now.
Right.
From that instance, there have been a couple of things that Vince has done during that time that were not that great, but at least that had wrapped up nicely.
I want to read out what is said about the inconsistencies with how Andre the Giant and Jimmy Snuka were found and stuff. It says the scene span. This is from WhatCulture.com. The link will be in the description. The scenes pan out like Vince McMahon is forming the Wrestling Avengers, and there's another in which young McMahon goes off script while announcing the match, and the wrestlers start following his commentary move by move, as if he were the Pied Piper. As a whole, the MLW Radio Review describes these scenes as campy and cartoonish, and at best, a distorted version of reality. Clearly, the film's focus is on entertaining the audience rather than telling Vince's real story.
Right.
So we're going to be getting a Vince McMahon comedy instead of a biopic, but I'm personally fine with that.
Right.
Because I'll
wait
see it.
I'll wait until after Vince dies for HBO to make a mini. That's who should do it. HBO and WWE should. I mean, WWE is probably PG, so they wouldn't really authorize it if it was on HBO. But I would really like to see an No, because if it's after Vince is gone, Triple H would probably okay this.
Yeah.
Triple H would definitely okay this.
Unless Stephanie doesn't like it.
I think Triple H has a little more clout than
She wears the pants.
I don't think so.
He wears the trunks and the dad stuff.
Yeah. Yes, she may wear the pants. He drives the motor tricycle.
Let's get to our third topic. It's already how many minutes in? 34 minutes.
Hey.
Alright, so we're gonna get to our third topic. So this is the main event topic. And it is like a main event caliber topic and a main event caliber match. So I showed
It's
you
the main event of the world.
I showed you this match I believe a month ago?
Probably.
Or somewhere around there. What were your first impressions?
Ow.
That was literally the first word you said to me as soon as the match was over. You said, ow.
Because it was just... It was long, grueling, brutal, and, to quote Stone Cold Steve Austin, hellacious.
Yes.
Which is a good word.
Very. So these two put on the only televised 6-star match
The only
in
one...
history.
The only one that you can easily find
And
to watch. In fact,
the
only one you can find to watch.
The other 6-star match was an untelevised match between Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat.
And considering it was untelevised,
You can't find it.
And back then, the only people who had cameras were filmmakers and movie studios and people who were super rich.
Mm-hmm.
People who are super rich aren't spending their time in wrestling rings, so you're not going to find video of it anywhere.
These two put on an absolutely fantastic match.
Beautiful. It was
It is beautiful.
gorgeous.
It's flawless. Now, the rumor is that some point in the summer, or maybe at Wrestle Kingdom 12, these two are going to have a rematch. Which seems very exciting at first. These two guys who are basically match of the year factories.
Yeah.
That are each individual. Okada has had like 3 amazing matches this year. And it's just getting better.
Doesn't Okada currently have a batting average of like he's a 4.5 to 5-star
He's like
rated
5. His
individual.
His average is like 5.4 out of a 1 to 5 scale.
And what's Omega at?
I have no idea.
But it's probably not far behind.
Yeah, so these guys obviously are going to have some point. I don't know about Okada, but at some point these guys have to be in WWE.
They're going to be the new Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, but here's the thing, we're not going to get tired of these two fighting.
Well,
okay, maybe not.
That's my big gripe. So the thing is that these guys are going to have a rematch in New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
However, I am under the personal belief that these two wrestlers should never fight again. Now people are going to be like, Michael, this is pro wrestling. It's built on rematches. Have you ever watched it? Hang on a second. Some classics only happened once. But you had these two people who put on a 6-star match.
Mm-hmm.
I've been heard of. So,
I want to find
my issue is that I'm going to be the pessimist here. No matter what these two do
Mm-hmm.
in their rematch, it is never going to be as good as the first time they met.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's really hard to make as a movie guy, that is really hard to make a good sequel, even a sequel, and it's especially hard to make a sequel that's better than the original.
Right.
It is really hard to do. A lot of sequels flopped. WrestleMania 2. A lot of sequels aren't as great as the first. There are very few that are greater. So that's my current gripe with this. It's everybody's talking about how big of a rematch Omega and Okada is going to be, when really I don't see them ever pulling off as good of a match or better of a match this time around. Honestly, because I honestly think these two, no matter what promotion they're in,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be New Japan, Ring of Honor, PWG, these guys are going to be put together in a match, no doubt, wherever they go.
Right.
I just don't think that should happen. I think these two should just leave that 6-star match, never even go near each other again. maybe like tease it once or twice, but it shouldn't happen again. These two should not fight again.
I'm inclined to agree with you.
Inclined to agree.
Because, I mean, unless miraculously we somehow get the Empire Strikes Back of matches, of wrestling matches. Oh yeah, that's right. You never watched Star Wars. Basically,
Thanks. Don't need me a live comment section.
The first Star Wars movie that came out in 1977, entitled Star Wars, was great.
Mm-hmm.
People loved it. But people were worried after it was announced that there was going to be a sequel in the early 80s, which was Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back is considered to be the best Star Wars movie, despite it being a sequel to the original Star Wars.
Right.
Because it was just miraculously... It was at once just as good and better than the first movie. And that is just... That is paraded around by both Star Wars fans and general science fiction fans and movie critics everywhere pretty much agree. So it's basically a fact that Empire Strikes Back is the greatest movie sequel of all time. So
that being said, though, how often does that happen?
It is super rare. Because if it had happened a lot, then we wouldn't have the term Empire Strikes Back when we describe a good sequel, or a sequel that's better than the original, or just as good, or one of the greatest sequels of all time. Do I think that Omega and Okada have it in them to, at some point, maybe produce that kind of match? Sure. But they would have to fight a lot to get there, because a lot of it is random chance.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have to be they are at the top of their game physically, mentally, and emotionally. They they balanced a line between being super practiced, but also not having a lot of super intense matches to lead up.
Mm-hmm.
They would also have to have the world's best crowd.
Yes. Crowd plays a huge factor into it.
And you would also, for the viewers at home, have to have somebody in the editor's chair who knows exactly when to cut to exactly which camera.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about that is, in order to get all of that lined up, you would have to have them fighting basically every night to just get close to a worthy sequel. So I agree with you. In all honesty, they should never step into a ring together again.
Yeah. So
if they do, it either has to be a tag match, so the expectation's kind of lifted because they're only working half the time, or if it still has to be a tag match, but they have to be on the same team.
Now, see, the only thing that I could see that makes this match a potential to be any better, or it's never, to me, these guys could pull out a 5-star match out of their rear end and just it will be great, and I can guarantee either at least 4.5 up.
Right. Oh.
It's never easy. Going to be 6 stars again.
No.
Never. From my point. If this ends up being wrong and they pull out an amazing match, I'll come out and I'll say I'm wrong. I have no issue regarding that, but I firmly believe that's not going to happen. The only thing that I could see...
If they manage to do this, if they manage to make a match that was better than their 6-star match, Dave Meltzer's going to have a heart attack.
He's going to die knowing that he witnessed the best wrestling match in history.
It'll have to be a 7-star match, and he will have to stop giving any more than 5 stars to anything.
Yeah, and then...
Because no match will ever get close, so no more 6-star matches.
That and another thing, they're both gone from New Japan. if that happens.
Oh,
Both of them are going to be like hot commodities as soon as their contract ends, and they're going to be rolling in money.
WWE is going to offer them all of the money.
You see Brock Lesnar's contract of $12 million? That's going to be cut in half, and it's $6 million plus some. It's going to go to these guys.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I could foresee,
and then they'll proceed to pull off 6-star matches with everybody on SmackDown, basically.
The only thing I can foresee that would make this match any better than the original is to make it either an hour or an hour and a half Iron Man match. To where, when the pinfall happens, that ain't it.
Mm-hmm.
You keep fighting until it's over. They took 48 minutes, and made it very, very freaking interesting.
Mm-hmm. So, an hour and a half long Iron Man match.
You would only get 2 pinfalls. 2 or 3. If they decide to go over in sudden death, if they're tied 1-1. That's the only thing I can see making this the greatest match of all time, and also the longest televised match of all time. Because,
but they would have to be off of TV for like 2 weeks afterward.
Oh God, yes.
Just not only to recover physically in real life, but also to kayfabe recover.
Oh my God. That's the only thing that would do it, and they're not going to do that because I don't know of a lot of New Japan, but I don't think they typically do Iron Man matches.
If they did, oh boy.
Oh my God.
If they ever
the matches are already an hour long enough.
Yeah, it's like if they ever announced hour and a half Iron Man match,
The internet would break.
Omega versus Okada, then NJPW would be trending on Twitter for a solid week after that.
Hashtag Wrestle Kingdom 12. That's the only thing I can see making it better. It's not going to happen.
The trending list for Twitter would be hashtag New Japan Pro Wrestling, hashtag Wrestle Kingdom 12, hashtag Omega, hashtag Okada.
And I know
hashtag Iron Man match.
I know we're probably going to get heat for this, but I really think that's no possibility.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just found our topic for next week.
What?
We talked about last week what happens when Vince McMahon dies. What happens after Dave Meltzer dies?
Oh no. Who do you turn to?
Who do you turn to for
Because
the
here's the thing, everybody agrees with Dave Meltzer.
Yeah!
Everybody, when Dave Meltzer said something about a match, you're like, it's a fair judgment, yeah.
How is that going to be handled?
Oh,
Does he have a successor? I need to research this. We're going to talk about that next week. I think that's going to be our...
No, it's going to be chaos, because then no one's going to be able to agree on a match ever again. Because people will be like, I say this is a 3-star match. And someone's like, no, it's clearly a 4-star.
Well, people dispute Dave Meltzer's ratings all the time. World Culture did a top 10 list that was bad, that was rated something it shouldn't have been.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was a 4.5-star match, Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 25.
Oh.
Not 5 stars.
The one that everybody says was 5.
Yes!
Alright, so yeah, maybe, but...
Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens at Battleground was 4.3. I feel like it should have been a 5. The storytelling was excellent. So that's going to do it for this week for the Wrestle-MaGiC podcast. Stay tuned next week for when we talk about the off-season as well as... Oh, wait, before we do. I was about to sign off, but I'm about to try something new. So this is going to be the new segment. I'm going to either go to the Wrestling Amino app or the Facebook page called Smarking Out, which you can follow me on the Wrestling Amino app at Michael Cruz of the Wrestle-MaGiC podcast. The name should be in the description for you to search up. I currently have 308 followers, but I will post a question to both groups, and I will read some of the answers that I got. The group Smarking Out, which is what I got, which I posted. I met a couple guys at Get Air, this trampoline park in Cleveland, and meeting those guys, we talked about it, and they invited me to join this group called Smarking Out, which I did. And so, oh, that's great. I just had somebody new comment on it just now. But I posted the question. It said, just curious. I'm not going to read last names. I'm just going to read first names. It said, just curious, what was everyone's first live wrestling show? Any memories? I'm taking you to your first show eventually when it comes to Cleveland. Eventually, you need to go to one.
Which one would be next?
I'll look it up later.
Yeah.
What was everyone's first live wrestling show? Any memories? My first wrestling event was at Unforgiven 2008. My uncle was working the event as security, and he got to take me backstage. I got to meet a bunch of people. I met Santino. I met Crime Time. I met Batista. Shook his hand. He was signing chairs for the front row to take home. I met Regal.
Ooh.
I saw Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase doing an interview.
Nice.
And I saw the Great Khali in a suit. I also saw Rey Mysterio, Evan Bourne, and John Cena in the back. All at this time in 2008. Everybody was back there. It was fantastic. So I posed that question to the Facebook group. And here were some of the responses. I'm not going to read them all because there were like 26, 28 different responses. But I'm just going to pick out some of the ones that were like some of the most interesting ones that I saw. James said he was at a Raw show, and his memory was Al Snow versus Goldust when Al Snow took tongs and grabbed Goldust in the nuts. Oh, man. Another one was Telemaine. I think that's how you say it. Telemaine. Said, my first show was Raw in Edmonton, 2013. CM Punk was champ and called out Triple H, and Kevin Nash came out. Got to see two of my favorites.
Surprisingly, Kevin Nash did not tear his quads.
Surprisingly. In the length of the... from the WrestleMania ramp, which was 80 yards, Kevin Nash could have tore his quads. I believe the count was 96 times. I believe that's what the count was. Another one, Phil says, mine didn't even have a name so long ago. Main event was Bob Backlund and Andre the Giant versus the Wild Samoans, Afa and Sika. David said, back when I was about 5 or 6 in Battle Creek, Michigan, George the Animal came over and licked my greasy head at the Kellogg Center. That made me laugh like so bad. I was getting out of work for my break and I was reading some of these comments and I just started dying laughing in the parking lot. Matthew says that he was at a WWE house show in Earl's Court in London, and Bret Hart was in the main event defending the WWF title versus Ric Flair. And he also talks about some of the other matches on there, like Virgil versus Repo Man, Max Moon versus Rick Martel, the Nasty Boys versus Money Inc., the Bushwhackers versus Headshrinkers, and Undertaker versus Kamala.
I'm so happy that WWE's mid-card's a little deeper, because it's like you have the one glorious match as the main event, and then it's just, who?
Well, I know a lot of those.
I know, but like, you know, if you ask someone who's just recently gotten into wrestling, and you introduce those names, they're like, who?
Yeah.
But you mention the main event, it's like, oh, okay.
And this guy included a picture, so I feel like a picture of when he was at the event, so I feel like I should read this one as well. The guy Sean said that my first live televised show was 2 tapings of Impact Wrestling in Glasgow. Or Glasgow? Did I say that right?
Glasgow.
At the SSE Hydro in 2014, and he went again the next year in 2015. His first live WWE show on television was SmackDown Live in Glasgow in November. Was a dream come true. Thought I'd only get to see a televised WWE show if I traveled to Manchester or London whenever WWE came to the UK. Thought I'd even maybe have to travel to America. When they announced that during their UK tour they'd be going to Raw and SmackDown in Glasgow last November, I was so happy. Best night of my life. So honestly, that makes me feel good that WWE has been able to reach out to this person who never thought they would be able to see them live. And
well, I mean, it wasn't that person. It was just those people. Those people, but some of them might have gone and actually had the money to travel. I'm glad it made his Yeah.
It was like the best. He said best night of my life,
Right.
and that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Too, and I'm not even part of. Lisa said that mine was a house show in Erie, PA, around 04, 05, which is around the time when I first started watching. For me personally, had an amazing time. Got to see two of my all-time favorites. This is Lisa talking again. Jericho and Lita. Unfortunately, Lita wasn't wrestling because it was during the dumb pregnancy angle with Kane. It's weird looking back on it because Eugene was in the main event and he was rescued by Chris Benoit. I was ecstatic at the time, but it was a little weird to look back on. I feel bad for William, who said he was at the King of the Ring '94 when Mabel won.
Of all the King of the Ring winners, your first one was Mabel.
And the last one I'm going to read is by Jayton, who went to the December 22nd, 2008 Raw when John Cena teamed with Trish Stratus, who I believe was retired at the time, against the team of Glamorella, Santino Marella, and Beth Phoenix. There was a lot of other replies to this, so I would invite you guys to go and check out the wrestling group Smarking Out on Facebook. But I'm going to be posting another question this upcoming week. I don't know exactly what I'm going to post just yet. I usually think of it like as I'm posting it. I'll have to think about it. If you have any other questions, you just send me a message. That's going to do it for the Wrestle-MaGiC podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to hit the like button and help us reach 100 subscribers by 2018. That is our goal. That is our target. We're going to try to hit it. And also, on Monday, on Tuesday, we're going to be taking a look at which show has the most views, most likes, between me and Brad's booking video, and we will play the match that is the main event of that on the wrestling game. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit the thumbs up button and subscribe for more, and we will see you guys next time.